Why escape the matrix? Right now it's trendy to say that we live in the matrix, like in a simulation. I'm explaining it to you. We live many lives. We reincarnate on this planet very many times. In reality, this planet is not at all a paradise. It's very hard and bad here. If you knew what worlds exist above, you would be blown away. You would never want to be born here in your life. There are some benefits, but more disadvantages. And the task of the human soul is to stop reincarnating. And to stop reincarnating, you need to escape this simulation. But can't you escape it, as long as you have karmic knots? And karmic knots are tied through your relationships with people. Because every person, well, almost everyone, there are bots of course, but there are real ones too. You interact with them when you leave a karmic knot. If you hurt someone, your next life is one where you're hurt, steal, and you're stolen from. This is the matrix, how you reincarnate. If you stole from someone, your next life you'll be stolen from. You shouldn't steal. This is the matrix. This is how you reincarnate. Moral teachings stop karma. To call for all teachings to lead a moral and ethical way of life, so that we stop leaving these karmic knots. These knots, and that's it. You exit the matrix and live in a normal world.
No, that's nonsense. So let's go in order. So does the matrix exist? We are definitely in the dream of Brahma. That is, in relation to him, he is just dreaming. But in relation to each other, everything is quite material here. So yes, material. So yes, it depends on which side you look at it from. And basically, I'm ready to agree that we live in a matrix. But we can't really live anywhere else. That's the problem. And those worlds he talks about, they're the same matrix. It's all inside. Yes, our universe is multifaceted. Yes, there are many worlds. Yes, there are paradise worlds. But not the paradises like in the Bible, one paradise for everyone. And there are many of them, beautiful worlds. And in those worlds, a person lives in the bodies that are found there.
Worlds, do you mean other spaces?
Yes, there are at least 7 different layers of space, fundamentally different from each other, with very weak correlations. And the same space, let's say, at the level of the 5th gates. By practicing and studying our energy here, we can peek into it like some kind of magical world. But being here, if we practice, if we study our energy, we have the opportunity to peek into that, to see how it is there. And so if a person studies their energy, yes, and doesn't just get caught up in the hype, those from the internet, then it suddenly turns out that the soul, it doesn't get born here. It doesn't get born anywhere at all. A field structure that is connected to multiple bodies of one soul. Maybe there, I don't know, millions of physical bodies. And these millions of physical bodies are located in different parts in the universe, at different levels, in different dimensions, in different parallels. And all of this happens simultaneously. This is him walking down the street right now, and he has a timeline. But the soul has no timeline. It lives everything simultaneously. That's it.
Is it possible to somehow be aware of this, to feel it?
It is possible. Why am I absolutely sure about this? Why doesn't my psyche break when some say reincarnation exists? An unreal number of people who say that reincarnation exists. I say no. In the sense that you describe it, it doesn't exist.
Well, so reincarnation, first you're a human, or were you an animal before that? So it's a change of form.
It all happens simultaneously. Well, it happens simultaneously. Well, no, there are no timelines like that. It's not like So the soul comes here, lives in this body, and then the body dies. It flew off somewhere, it went to its next one. And this karma, it all happens at once. This timeline, this illusion that there is a past and a future. Even physicists say it's an illusion. What are we talking about? Esotericism. Physicists have already found that based on your speed in space, you can end up in the past or future. How can you get to it if it doesn't exist? You can end up either in the past or in the future. So how can you get to it if it doesn't exist? So it exists. So it exists all at once. If depending on your speed you end up here or there, then these 2 points exist simultaneously. What reincarnation are we talking about? No, it all moves at once. And one soul can have a huge number of physical bodies. Yes, he is currently in a physical body in our specific world, in our point in space. But his soul, perhaps, has another body that could possibly be on some paradise planet, in a sense, in a manner of speaking. I don't know, in paradise worlds, and it all happens at once.
But how can we touch it, realize it, understand it?
To flow, to develop, to cultivate your own vision. Again, the practices that I did, the practices that I showed, allowed me to see this. Not to recognize, not to ask, but to see it with your own eyes. Of course, you don't look with your eyes, you look as pure perception, as pure consciousness. And you observe, aha. This flow has multiple realizations in all sorts of points in space. In every body, there is consciousness just like yours. It's practically identical, just the form might be different. I'm not on the course. We had a meeting, recently dedicated to the Sri Yantra. There, I explained in detail that our consciousness also has a body. Our consciousness has a configuration. The yantra, the configuration of consciousness. And so, depending on what kind of yantra you are, that's where you realize yourself. If you're a very crumpled yantra, very shriveled, well, then this is your place. Although there are even more problematic worlds. Here, compared to them, it's more or less okay. If you are a fully opened yantra, like a lotus flower, fiery, you will manifest in some fiery, beautiful, pure place and live there. But all of this is just a dream, Brahma. What you are there, what you are here, what you are somewhere else, I don't know. Let there be hellish worlds. It's all a dream. Can dreams be self-realized? His dreams.
And how can a person, for example, come to this on their own? So he needs to work with energy to truly feel this unity. Will he be able to see for himself that he is everything, that he is everywhere? Of course, to manifest in the reality, in the space where he truly wants to be.
Of course. And that's the thing. So again, he's recalling the video, right? He says there are people and then there are bots and they're just not real. I haven't seen a single bot, not once. I've seen people who are in the deepest sleep. They have an incredibly limited ability to perceive. Yes, they are robots. Inside, they have the same consciousness as everyone. But you can look into their hearts, and there's exactly the same piece of consciousness as everyone else. They're just asleep. They are asleep in a much deeper sleep than everyone else. Whoever does something, again, this is simply just for comparison. What can we say? Even in animals, there are particles of original consciousness present. We are on different levels of energy, on different layers of energy, but we are all one single organism. At lower primitive levels, yes, the perception arises that you are on your own. At very primitive levels, like really primitive levels, do you feel like you're not connected to anything at all? You can almost be in a vacuum there.
So what does this understanding give a person, the basis that he is everything? How will this reflect?
Listen, well, this is a whole training system. So it's a sequential practice execution. First, you study energy at the level of your physical body, and then beyond the physical body. Then you find the mechanisms that constrict your consciousness, release your consciousness, that bind your energy and free your energy. Through these mechanisms, you bring yourself to a state where your energy is permanently released, where it starts to ignite and accelerate. You start to free yourself from that crystallization, from that point in space where you are embedded. You start to gradually come out of it. Then you have the opportunity to detach from your senses. This, you can call it an exit from the body, for example, an astral exit, something like that. You can use such words. You gain the ability to perceive the world without the help of your senses. There are special techniques. They are quite well known. For example, vipassana. What is vipassana? This is when a person is prohibited from moving. So, through this process, he prohibits his body from moving, thus opening up the possibility for his consciousness to slightly detach from the body. There are practices called black-dark retreats. Why a dark or black retreat? Because you are in a completely light-isolated room in complete darkness. After 3 to 6 to 9 days, mostly 9 days, very few people can endure it. But being in complete darkness for about 9 days, your consciousness starts to perceive the world without the help of your physical body, without senses. And you start to see what your senses can't sense. They don't have that capability at all. They don't have that ability, there to talk about This device that we're looking at in the video sees better than the eyes. It already surpasses my own physical eyes. And that's why, when you're limited in your perception, you create illusions. What is it that someone bought? That there is reincarnation, that your soul came here, where it came, where, how, what is this all about? Here is matter. There is no place for the soul.
So basically, for a person to activate this true one, let's say the sensations of the world, so he doesn't necessarily have to go on these black, dark retreats on vipassanas. So he just needs to boost his own energy. Like a new method of sensation?
Well, of course, he can achieve all of this through meditation, through practices, through exercises. I've already shown a lot of exercises. This is a course on practical energy, a course on transcendent speed. Right now, in a month, comes the third course, Fire Pillars, join live. In just over a month, the third course, Fire Pillars, and you can actually attend it live. That is immediately, simultaneously, synchronously, in a unified energetic surge, in a single wave, a single wave. All of this is trained. All of this is practiced. But you need to strive for this and take action. Just striving is not enough. Strive and take action, and do these exercises. Riding isn't just reading. What do you need to do to learn how to ride a bike? Probably read a bunch of books. No, you have to take that bike, sit on it, and slowly try to keep your balance. You can't get that balance just by reading books.
This video also mentioned karmic knots, meetings, karmic ones. What do you think about it at all?
It's absolute madness. What I heard, again, I don't know. Find reality-based positives. Something that corresponds to reality. But those words, those phrases, the mood, the vibrations that come from this person, they only talk about the fact that he just can't perceive it. He just read about it. He heard it somewhere and maybe he believed it. Do you feel it? Well, of course, of course. There's an incredible difference between a person who has experienced events and talks about them and a person who just picked up something from the information space and is retelling it. Of course it's obvious. And he is indeed just retelling it. And he retells it very inaccurately, very much through the filter of his own perception, of his physical body, perception. And this perception doesn't correspond to reality. All right? What was I outraged about there? About karmic knots. Karmic knots. Well, look at what he's saying. If you hurt someone, you'll be reborn here. How? No. And why? You will be aware. Well, first of all, yes, we cross out this rebirth. Everything happens in one moment. There are certain mechanisms when you can move along this flow, when you can choose such a different point of focus for your attention, that to some extent it can be drawn in to rebirth, even though you don't die at that moment. You see, this rebirth implies that you died and were born again. If you die, that's it, you've arrived. But technically, without dying, we can crawl over to another point in space and manifest there. It's possible to do, but it's definitely not easy to do at all. It's not enough just to die for that.
What?
For that, you need to transform your own consciousness, the body of your consciousness, in such a way that it can fit into those worlds that he calls beautiful. If your consciousness can't fit in there, you can't appear there. You can't gather that world for your perception.
And how do you fit your consciousness into the world you want?
First, you need to learn to feel your own energy. Then you need to learn to perceive the world directly without the help of the physical body. Then you need to learn to perceive your consciousness as some kind of form, like some kind of, let's say, a crystal or a flower, whatever you prefer. And then, while perceiving your consciousness as some kind of form, you realize why you are here. Because your consciousness is such that it won't appear anywhere else but here. And so, by transforming your consciousness, you get a real opportunity to gather yourself where now it is still impossible to gather and it does not work out. I understand that I'm talking about this very abstractly. To me, difficult to convey information of this level through words. Because when you're there, there's no place for words. And you are just amazed by it. And after some time trying to dig up enough terms in my head to describe it at least somewhat, still inside you understand that it doesn't match reality.
You need to practice.
You need to learn this to perceive it. You just need to perceive this. You need to experience this. You need to realize this. And then these terms don't even arise at all. There, who is right, who is wrong. What exists and what doesn't exist. There is a reality. And it is the same for everyone as it is. All right. And if you hurt someone, first of all, you are both to blame for it. 50-50. Tango is danced by two. Even the most despicable act that a person commits against another is still 50-50.
And does it come back to him later somehow?
It might come back, or it might not. It all depends on what state he was in. If I told you, for example, an absolutely obvious truth and you got offended, why should I be punished for that? I was honest.
All right, but what if it's some kind of malicious act?
If I set myself the desire to simply humiliate you, to insult you, to mess with your nerves, not by speaking the truth, not by stating some truths, but just deciding to mock you, then yes, that opens up the same possibility regarding me.
So this will happen to you too?
Of course. But this will happen to me here and now. Well, maybe in about a week, maybe in 5 minutes, maybe in a year, maybe in 10 years, in different ways, many cases, but this will happen here. I don't need to die for that.
But rather it's like a boomerang because we are right now. It's not a boomerang.
It's not a boomerang. This mission. So I allow such relationships with myself when I allow that kind of relationship with another. So I approached a person, for example, let's not go too far. So a person comes to me, yes, with a certain self-image. I look at his energy. I look at his physique. I say, you're broken here. You're broken here. You've got a problem here already. That's the problem. In this area, it will arise in about a year or a year and a half. The person got offended, unhappy, sitting there all puffed up. His face turned red. So what? Did I do something wrong? I told him just how he looks. You might say, what if you're wrong? Yes, that's possible. But this person hearing this, it's a real story. Hearing something like that about himself, he says, I'm not like that. Like, my opinion doesn't match what you said. I say, then check it out with the doctors. Let them check you out with those newfangled devices. Go, see this. To a specialist, go get a massage. Let them work on those areas. And you'll feel what it's like when they start working on you there. The person listened to me. Yes, she was unhappy. Yes, she got offended. In a way, she even got offended. But she decided to check. She checked, and it turned out to be just as I said. She comes in. No way. I thought everything was fine with me. Thinking is harmful. You need to feel. You need to develop your extrasensory perception. Our brain always deceives us. Always. Because he is the consequences of this illusion, the consequences of the matrix we are in. Illusion is our only home. Transform for freedom. We have nowhere else to live. And in order to claim freedom from illusions, to claim a place where we can live further, we need to undergo so many transformations. Well, such. To climb to an unimaginable height, what you look for a topic. Sometimes, when you realize this, and you're alone with yourself, you just want to give up on everything and look for a topic. I'd rather not stress about dancing like everyone else than not stress at all, but seeing how lives come to an end. People who do not seek to know more, indeed, it definitely motivates even more than the fact that we will have to work hard. In the end, each of us dreams. Everyone in these dreams had some characters, some events. Cities, perhaps, even unrecognizable. And then the person would open their eyes, and it would disappear. This is how much effort characters need to put in. His sleep. So that when a person opens their eyes, this character from their dream doesn't disappear anywhere.
So why are we even here then? Why are we able to somehow be aware of ourselves here, to connect to this world?
Initially, he comprehends his nature. He studies himself. He has divided himself into many, and with this multitude, he feels himself out. But in this hierarchical multiplicity, because it's obvious that when there is a source, everything has branched out from that source, there is a certain gradient. This gradient creates a hierarchy. So in this hierarchy, someone is a character in the dream, a person. And someone is the one who dreams. This is a gate. And there is the one who dreams of many gates, many creators of worlds. This is Vishnu. Vishnu dreams of everyone.
So can we say in this case, that, well, let's call it a goal, that our goal, the task of the soul, is to wake up and ultimately reach that freedom, which is the original one.
It's very complicated and feels very forced, but in principle, I can agree with that. Moments exist in reality, not universe. Moments. In the manifested. I don't even want to call it the universe. In the manifested. There are moments that are called Mahapralaya. So when absolutely everything, this scattered thing, this gradient of hierarchy, it all comes back together into a point. And there is nothing more than this point. Well, although it's not even a point, but okay, it is what it is. And at that moment, it doesn't matter at all what you were doing here. To what state have you degenerated? Either you're a black dot at the first gates, or you're some kind of great Mahavidya. It doesn't really matter. Everything merges into one. All personalities are destroyed. Not a single personality, original personality. This is called Mahapralaya. But until that happens, there's another question. What are you doing here? So how do you spend your time in Mahapralaya? And if you're just passing the time as a black dot at the first gates, well, it's really sad to watch from the outside. But if you still have the ability to perceive, have the ability to move, have the ability to be aware, you have the possibility. Still, it's about figuring out what you're in and jumping out, first from the snare to gain freedom from it. Preferably without waking him up. At the same time, you jump out of the dream of Vishnu and contemplate this world as if from the outside. Admiring how much it doesn't align with all your ideas about the structure of the world. Well, then you can potentially claim such a state, like a rishi eternal. It's a state where even Mahapralaya doesn't compress you into a point where you become free from this process. Personally, I'm focused on exactly that state. This excites me to the max and motivates me to the max. This motivates me more than anything else, more than the fact that, in principle, everyone and every mortal will have to go through this. This motivates me more than the complexity and amount of work required to realize the body of light, which again, the practitioner will have to achieve and perform this action. Rishi's freedom motivates me. In the state of a rishi, the freedom that exists there, it motivates me much more than anything else. The rest is trying to stop it.
Tell me, do you believe, know, or feel that you will achieve this freedom?
I have an intention. This is not faith. It's not a feeling, it's my stance. And my stance is unwavering. Here it is, I have it. And the longer I live, the more my abilities develop, the tougher and more unshakable my stance becomes. This is within me. Will it work or not? All in my hands.
I think that's a complete, thorough answer. Thank you.
Do you want to unlock your inner strength and learn to manage energy? The course, Power of Consciousness 1. Practical energy will provide you with tools to improve health, develop intuition, and gain a deeper understanding of the world. Join and start changing your life right now. Link in the description.